All right, let's start. You know what, guys? I want to start with. Do we have? All right, we can do this first, but just make sure the system is the sound's down, so I can call into the system. Okay, let's start with this. This is a Cornel West clip, from July 19th, a couple of days ago, and I think it's really important. We get into the pedantry of this conversation. And some of it is actually, in this case, I would say useful pedantry. What are we going to call it? If you call it fascism, does that negate the fact that America has always, for most of its history, in fact, been an authoritarian non-democracy for most people? For many people, at the very least. Do we call it barbarism? What is the best way to frame this moment? And I wanted to take this Cornel West clip on Anderson Cooper because I think, once again, his clarity here, the way of presenting and the urgency of this argument is clarifying and the type of energy we need moving forward. So let's play some of that.
Joined tonight by Dr. Cornel West, professor of the practice of public policy at Harvard University and professor emeritus at Princeton. Professor West, I wanted to talk to you because I just find that chant so depressing. And, you know, I mean, look, we've all seen this kind of thing done before. You know, send them back was said to, the Irish. It was said to Italians at the turn of the century who came in waves. It was said to Chinese. It was said to every wave of immigrants who have come to these shores, who are now embraced as Americans, and their descendants now are saying, "Send her back to this Congresswoman." When you heard that chant, how do you explain that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like you though, brother. I'm very grim and down and out. But I said to myself, I've got to be more fortified in the name of moral consistency, spiritual witness, and political courage. And I said to myself, I'll make sure I will not stoop so low that when Fred Trump and when Marianne Trump and when Melania Trump came as German, as Scotch, and as Slovenian, that I would not want to say to them, you need to go back. I've been here 9 generations as a black man, enslaved, Jim Crow, Jane Crow, at the center of the American
bit of a Twitter
experiment, at the center of the democratic experiment. I'm not going to stoop so low to be in the gutter with Trump. We had to be very clear, though. This is not just a matter of Trump as racist, and I was sad to see the Democratic Party couldn't just call him a racist as opposed to say his words are racist. That was a bit weak for me. But Donald Trump, Brother Trump, is at this moment becoming the American version of a Hitler and a Mussolini. We have created a fascist Frankenstein, and I say we. It's not just a decrepit Republican Party with all of the collaborationists and the facilitators. I mean, you know, Brother Lindsey Graham is just a Donald Duck version of Joseph McCarthy. It's sad to see him stoop so low. But Kevin Murphy, the same way. You see, Republicans across the board, they have adjusted themselves to a profoundly unjust, proto-fascist way of being in the world in terms of being lawless, hiding and concealing, rationalizing this kind of unadulterated raw hatred. And I come from a tradition of a people who, after being hated for 400 years, Coltrane just died 52 years ago. We teach the world about love and justice. So the question becomes, how do I become fortified to say to Trump that you're going to have to create a fascist America over our dead bodies? We're going to go down fighting. We're not going to go get in the gutter of hatred for you, but out of love of democracy and this country, we're going to make sure you do not allow for this kind of expansion of fascism. You read Gustave Le Bon's book on the crowd, and you see the ways in which you can manipulate the crowd. You know Madison Grant, Yale graduate, 1887, the passing of the great race, the major pseudoscientific rationalization of the subordination of black people, red peoples, yellow peoples, brown peoples. Donald Trump is as American as apple pie, just like Martin Luther King Jr. is as American as apple pie. And the question is, what apple pie is going to win? So in that sense, we just got to be fortified.
See that?
Yeah.
I have nothing. Yeah. I mean, please go ahead.
I mean, well, just
as always, Cornel West's clarity is just such a treasure. But that last piece at the end is him finding a way to have like a plain spoken way to talk about hegemony, which is, there's a lot. America is a lot of things, and we're in a battle right now. It's a definitional battle, and what way it's going to go is going to depend on how we fight. And it's also a signal to the left that's so quick to sort of give up the tropes of Americanism, right? To give those away to the right, and to acknowledge both. Yeah, Donald Trump is apple pie. So is Dr. King. It's almost. I think it was Cornel West who. At one point, I think it was after Kaepernick said that racism is so American that when we protest it, people think we're protesting America.
Right.
And then to position it as there's this counter hegemonic opportunity to define America differently.
And that is so key. That's what I've been saying again and again.
That's what we talk about with Harvey K a lot.
Of course. I mean, Harvey K is an incredible mentor and it's such an important voice with that. And I also think in addition to that, that's why it is so important. And I keep saying this. This is where, again, it's very important to not narrow into moralistic subculture. And then on the other hand, have a completely ruthless and clear solidarity, internationalism, cosmopolitanism, and your definition of what the melting pot is here. Because I think that the frame of we have a 100% equal stake here, and the stake that we have is that this is the country that embraces Ilhan Omar, as an example. This is a country that says that Donald Trump is not a grotesque aberration. It's a grotesque continuity, but one that we have to defeat. But we're not going to sit back here and give that up. And of course, I do have to say that one of the kind of double ironies of it is that if you want to go to spaces, and I hate that word, but if you want to go to spaces where there is an incredibly sophisticated analysis that synthesizes, in fact, a very deep patriotism and recognition of this paradox and contradiction, and understanding that you want to lock on to one part of the tradition and defeat the other, it's in immigrant communities. You don't hang out with people, and I'll speak very broadly anecdotally here. You don't hang out with people from Haiti, from Trinidad, from Mexico, from Serbia, who are like, well, I did every type of gargantuan effort to get here. I'm dealing with all of the inequities, racisms, and horrificness of this country. I also know probably part of the reason I had to get here was because of this country's foreign policies. And by the way, at the same time, man, am I so happy to be here. And oh my God, you have no idea the potentials that are here. I mean, I've talked about this with Waz as an example so many times. You have to embrace that paradox and go through it. And of course, it's Cornel West, so no one's going to put it better than him. You've just watched a Michael Brooks show video, and you can watch all of our full main live shows every Tuesday night at around 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and subscribe to get all of the clips you want. We're covering the globe. We're focusing on international relations, the intellectual dark web. We're having fun. We're doing deep dives with a lot of amazing guests. Of course, become a patron for the whole thing at patreon.com/TMBS, or subscribe to this YouTube channel and help us keep growing and get that content out there. Subscribe below.